often do you encounter artificial intelligence? If you said not often, let us rephrase. How often do you use Face ID to unlock your phone, scroll through social media, or make a simple Google search? All of these instances and more use AI to improve and personalize your experience. Artificial intelligence has infiltrated our lives both for the better and for worse. Our project Camera Digita aims to paint portraits of communities that are underserved and underrepresented by emerging technology. With the reaches of big tech rapidly expanding, we want to pause and evaluate the ethics and humanity of these advancements. Through community-based research, our team of 3 undergraduate students have discovered many facets of AI's impacts on daily life. We cover the topics of bias, human interaction, design justice, and more. To display our findings, we created an interactive smart home in order to ground our research in human experience.
What is AI? We define AI as the ability of a machine to perform tasks commonly associated with intelligent beings, such as the ability to reason, generalize, and learn from past experiences. Let's see this in action with a Roomba or an automatic vacuum cleaner. They were used in 14.2 million households in 2018. These popular devices use artificial intelligence to learn the layout of rooms and calculate the most efficient cleaning routes. Let's take a look at a smart home. A 2020 report estimated that 1 in 4 U.S. adults own a smart speaker. That means that there are 60 million Americans using 157 million devices, with each household having an average of 2.7 devices. AI is being rapidly implemented into these devices to maximize user convenience.
However, not all implementations of AI have been successful. In 2015, MIT graduate student Joy Buolamwini created the Aspire Mirror, an invention that allows the user to see inspirational quotes and images reflected onto their face. However, the facial recognition software on the mirror couldn't identify Joy until she held a white party mask up to her face. The software was able to read the blank white mask before it could recognize a dark-skinned human face. Upon further investigation, Joy found that other facial recognition software by Microsoft, Amazon, and IBM also performed worse with dark-skinned faces, especially females. In 2020, the Duke Pulse project used AI to sharpen pixelated faces. However, their algorithm yielded lower success rates for black faces. The creators suggested that this bias was inherited from StyleGAN, a neural network that they used to generate random faces to unblur. A study on StyleGAN and bias found that the algorithm overwhelmingly favors generating young, white, female faces. Where did this bias come from? It may not be the algorithm itself, but the data that it was trained on. Machine learning is an integral part of artificial intelligence. Large amounts of data are used to train algorithms. In this way, models can learn without direct human input. Gaps in data, however, are often reflected in the model's output. After all, the machine can only learn from what it's given. Pulse was trained on images generated by StyleGAN, which was trained on pictures from Flickr. Now, is it so surprising that the data from a social media platform yields an output that reflects the Western beauty standard? Fixing gaps in data doesn't always mean adjusting it to just be proportional. AI only replicates reality, and reality isn't near perfect. Often, minority groups must be overrepresented in the data in order to be represented equally in the output. This shows us that equal is not enough. In a world still full of bias, we need representation to be equitable. To document my reaction to these scenarios, I created illustrations and sketches. They mostly serve to illustrate who does and doesn't have power and representation in the field of AI. Now, I'm going to pass it back to Athena.
The extent of AI and its applications go beyond use in smart homes or mirrors to a variety of other fields, which often lead to questions of ethics and, in some cases, what it even means to be human. On this post-it board, I featured a couple of the thought experiments and sketches that I focused on during our research process. In 2014, Amazon started a project to use AI to review job applicants' resumes and automate the hiring process. Over the course of a few years, however, the company soon realized that the system was biased against women. It turns out that Amazon's computer models were trained to evaluate applicants by observing patterns in employee success and resumes over a 10-year period, most of which came from men in this historically male-dominated industry. In a case like this, how would we work to eliminate bias, and should AI systems be used in the first place? Through more philosophical lenses, in 2018, the first piece of AI-generated artwork sold in an auction for over $400,000. Who is the artist here? Is it the algorithm, or is it the programmer? We often consider our creativity as being uniquely human. But if an AI can produce indisputable works of art of such value, then what is art? And what does it mean to be creative? Were we ever alone in our creativity? For the sake of time, we have chosen to leave the following hypothetical examples, thoughts on topics from the alignment problem to AI replicating human consciousness, on the board to be analyzed outside of this presentation. Outside of these scenarios, the AI in your social media sites and search engines are designed to show you what you want to see, or at least what might interest you, resulting in issues such as political polarization and the spread of fake news or misinformation. Who is responsible for ensuring that this won't happen? Is this an issue for corporations, for governments, for all of us? These questions and more have led to interviews and conversations with people from around the world, during which I ask questions such as, when you hear the term AI, what comes to mind? How can we prevent bias? And what should we be thinking about when we are incorporating AI innovations into communities? How would you envision an ideal world? Some key themes that have come out of these discussions include the need for representation, diverse teams and data sets, and technological literacy and awareness, in addition to accountability for users of AI, in a world in which AI should serve only to augment the human experience, rather than to replace people, to take over, or to generate the most profit possible for those already in positions of wealth or power. Inspired by these conversations, I created the following works of art. In Our Own Image explores the idea of AI holding up a mirror to society to reflect our biases. In A World in Which Many Worlds Fit, I set out to envision a world where many worlds, cultures, and communities fit on one street.
AI is already being implemented into working professions, including the legal field. This was the case when a computer-generated risk score was applied to Eric Loomis's sentencing in 2016. The software used to predict Loomis's risk of reoffense is known as COMPAS. There is substantial evidence that COMPAS shows bias against African Americans. Analysis shows that COMPAS predicts that African American convicts are 1.87 times more likely to reoffend than their white counterparts. If you don't feel alarmed by this algorithm's biased evaluations, you should. In this example alone, there's proof that AI is being extorted to over-penalize minorities, especially Black defendants. Companies are also guilty of data torturing, essentially drawing their desired conclusions from repeatedly interpreting source data. There is urgency when it comes to these matters. Especially when it's someone's freedom at stake, we have an obligation to address the proper usage of AI and set things straight. As Sheila Jasanoff reminds us in her book, technology functions as an instrument of governance, but further, technological systems rival legal constitutions in their power to order and govern society. Whether people notice it or not, we try to base so much of our AI creations on ourselves and or at our convenience. From self-checkout machines to Google Homes to Amazon's hiring process experiment, so much of our life is being automated in an attempt to streamline and efficiently do things. So often we focus on the future, but not so much who determines it. And though it might be overlooked because it seems obvious, it's us. We have control in choosing how to implement technology into our lives, and choosing between the ethics and profits of every new invention. So then, it becomes important to question not only the technologies we are sold, but also the ones we manufacture ourselves. So is there a solution, you might ask? When it comes to evolving technology and AI, there's always more questions than answers. However, human compassion and empathy are always central to the mission of navigating the complexity of social technical systems. It's time to separate the myths from reality, to shake off the popular media and megacorporations' hold on the narrative of future technology. It's time to challenge what it means to be scientifically literate and provide opportunities for those who are displaced in favor of efficiency. We need to stand up for each other so that equal representation is a requirement and not an option, and that punishment is struck upon those responsible for the intended and unintended consequences threatening people's liberty and autonomy. Despite fears for what the future of technology holds, AI, if anything, liberates us from routine jobs, and it is here to remind us what it is that makes us human.
As our lives become increasingly intertwined with AI, we must question how to remove bias to ensure equity and equal representation for all. Even if our conversations lead to more questions than answers, prompting others to think about our interactions with AI and with each other challenges us to build tolerant and human-centered technology. When narratives of the particular or marginalized are added to the story of humanity, a society that conjoins empathy with progress is formed. This is only the beginning. In the sparse field of ethics and AI, every voice matters. We encourage you to pause and scrutinize the technology that we have accepted into our lives, and to never stop asking questions. If you would like to learn more, our advisor Jeff Ward has generated a comprehensive list of what to read next. To conclude our presentation, we would like to give special thanks to Ariana Ely and Jeff Ward for their endless support and kindness throughout this project. This is only a small piece of our entire project. A fuller version of this presentation will be available on our website in the next few days, which will also include our personal curatorial statements in greater detail on all the topics discussed today. Thank you for listening.